All righty. Are we live? I said, are we live? All right, y'all. Let me know how we looking. We coming at you in 2K. Let us know how we looking. Stress test. Let me log in. Make sure the volume down. Where are we? There we are. We got a commercial here. All right, we looking good. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Naya. You gotta admit that was kind of smooth how I just slid the word in there. Come on, you gotta admit it. That was smooth. You gotta admit that was smooth. All right. Got a big show planned today. Right now we doing a stress test. We coming at you in 2K 25. 60 by 1440. If it hold up, we orange right now. It should turn green as YouTube get used to us coming at them in 2K. Yesterday, y'all wouldn't believe. We kept cutting off yesterday. And there was a reason for it. I got off. I went and cooked me some chicken legs and made my side order. Sat down. Put the wrestling on. And guess what? That was all she wrote. Data for Metro PCS by T-Mobile gone. Done data. Nothing. All the way up until 1 o'clock today. We had no data. And I couldn't fall asleep. I sat on the phone with them for 2 hours. Somebody finally answered. Gave me a bunch of excuses. I mean a bunch of excuses. I'm like, sir, I'm not stupid. I know about phones. The tower is out. No, it's not. Do these things, sir. All these things going to do is make me have to reset all my settings. The tower is out. Half a mile from the tower. All the strengths, everything is there. There's just no data. That's a mistake that y'all are making. No, it's not. It's all working. We just kept arguing back and forth. 20, but right now we in 1440, which is double. If it can't handle it, we'll go back. Now you see we're green. So let's see if it handle it. If it can handle the stress. Not going to be showing any videos. Everything is off the internet. Liz said her internet was messing up so bad. So it wasn't just Metro? You said you couldn't even watch TV. Yeah, I had to watch regular TV. Believe it or not, I sat there and watched Arthur and other things. I was sitting there like, wow. So let's see how it does tonight. I'm taking a chance streaming in 2K. So y'all let me know if I start freezing or anything like that. Let me know. And we'll drop back down. As y'all can see, the change came today. Don't look as good as gold chains will look, but hey, y'all can see all three of my ministry ordination. So I'm happy. This look a lot better than that daggone blue. And it's shining, so I'm happy. So when somebody tell y'all you're listening to fake preacher or whatever, credentials are right here. The credentials are right here. So, I also ordered, it was enough left between the driving Naya and the $8 that I had from COSBY. I was able to, I had 4 something left. I spent 23 something in the market. So with the 15, the 5, and her 8, it left $4 and something. I was able to get the RF sleeves. So it's sleeves. You put the credit card in the sleeves, and then you put them in the wallet part of your wallet. So you get the RF protection. So they'll be here Thursday. So all we gotta do is not get scanned until Thursday, and then nobody will ever be able to hack my account again. Now, once again, they had 6 credit card sleeves, and they had 2 passports. I don't go out the country, so I didn't need a passport. And they had one that had 8. So I got the 8. So I'm going to put the PayPal, the Cash App, my driver's license, which probably expired. I'm going to put my disability card. I'm going to put my Medicaid card. I'm going to put those in those sleeves and then put them in the wallet. So that way, nobody can clone my information. And hopefully, this doesn't happen. Oh, your data went out too? I tell you, man, it's rough. When you depend on that data, it's gone. It's rough. I keep telling y'all what's going to happen. When one day somebody drops some bombs over here and we're going to be lost. How did you feel last night with no data? I sat there and had to watch court TV. I sat there and watched an episode of Mr. Rogers. You know I was desperate for something to watch. I watched the episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But you hear a black man admit that he watched Mr. Rogers. I watched Arthur. There wasn't nothing but daggone paid commercials on. I got tired of watching stuff about getting fryers and the wax and all that. I was like, man, that wasn't nothing to watch. we just had to make it work. Whatever came across that screen. Travis said he was hurt. I was hurt too. I still ain't seen but half the Royal Rumble match. I know Drew McIntyre won, and I watched a little bit of Raw before I came on. But Drew McIntyre won the Royal Rumble. And he got attacked by Brock Lesnar. But anyway, like I said, we got a big show today. I hope y'all ready to chat. It's going to get controversial. I invite everybody to come in. Don't be quiet. Don't be afraid to chat. We about to get serious up in here. I'm talking about serious. So if you can't handle it, maybe you shouldn't watch. But we get ready to get serious. So let's go ahead, and we always start with a song. So let's get it. Oh, y'all believe I got flagged on one of the songs from last night? And y'all know that I got the free subscription to that to that music company. Do you know that they flagged me on a song we played last night? So I deleted it. You know, y'all saw me download them last night. I deleted it. And I edited it out. I didn't have to because I could afford. We got every right to play those songs. These people greedy. It was only 64 y'all watched. Why were they so greedy to get that little bit of money? I don't understand why people are so damn greedy. But we got permission. And I could afford that, and we would have won. Because we do have permission to play those songs. That account is linked to that company, and we are allowed to play those songs. I could afford it, but it would have took up to 30 days to win. And they would have had my little 30, 20 cent, whatever, they would have had it. So I just edited it. Liz says you need to grab her charger. I wouldn't call it a bashing. I call it an awakening. I wouldn't call it a bashing. I call it an awakening. Now, if you're one of them people that can't handle the truth, then maybe. I call it an awakening. I was looking at this stuff and I was getting pumped up. Now, if you look at it and feel bad, how you doing, Ham? I don't know what to say. But this ain't got nothing to do with Sister Mayor. Funny, Cole. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me know how the volume is. Because the volume is also playing through the computer. And I got the sound system sitting here. And it's coming through the microphone too. So we need to have that balance.
Somebody tell me, why am I different? Why can't I see but no one else can?
Two people hit me up behind the scenes and said that Ham Hock is RE, but I haven't seen no evidence of it. And y'all know I got to have something ready for you.
Are they crazy? Are they lazy? Or y'all just plain dust? Seriously though, when's a loser? Become hit. Why do you stand by and let the government strip away the rights until our parents fought and 40 years ago? My people had to deal with the triple K and Jim Crow laws that said separate unequal. Doesn't that sound strange? 40 years later, things haven't changed, but you naively front and adding to stopped by a racist cop who only sees you as an outcast. A black man is that last on the scales of justice. The man took trouble and you abandoned your fellow man. Don't you understand? He doesn't care about you until you move next door or see, because there's 4 of a daughter at the flip of a quarter. He will and can decide your fate. You're an American son. You can't escape by getting high or getting drunk. Come on, black male. Y'all, you know, it's time to wake up. A black man, he needs to take a stand. All I'm saying is, you know you're doing wrong. A black man, you lay back. I'm just watching the best chicken with my love and stay black man. Stop worrying about the hand. Just run my different.
Wait a minute.
Somebody tell me why are women attracted to losers? Why are men attracted to suck? Why is a man who
Sorry about that, y'all. It was a voice track on that.
What's up, my people? What's up? Why do you guys with their life and freedom? Why you only want to spend the drop money? Why do you saying money to go for these deals? Who could be shot or locked up at any time? Who's gonna raise them? What's up, black people? What's up? Black women, stop selling yourself short. Stop playing up with men who use the sex as a sport. Stop trying to change the rebel in the hood. He may be great in bed, but he's no good as a mate. Say the man who respect and not molest you. So bad with me, I know I'm preaching, but I'm only teaching you what you already know. Cause when you meet a man, you should take it slow. Carry yourself like a lady. That man whips that Mercedes, so let's it's a perfect time. If he does respect you as a queen, you are loving. A poor man who loves you back is not selling. So be satisfied. You can't hang on clear. Who only tells you lies? Black women, my sisters, wake up.
Thanks for the donation, Cole.
We need to wake up. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I got a surprise today. Even more surprised when we did that donation. Look what came today. I ain't even took the stick off it yet. They wasn't joking. But they said Thursday. Credit card people ain't joking.
Let me say the third verse. Don't pick on the women. It's time to come to the black businessman. You know who you are. Black businessman. Can you show me how you got to the top? I'll drop my pride if you're meant to me like someone did for you. Or are you scared to say your secret thought of fear that I might excel and reach a higher level than you, sir? You're a role model for the community, but you pack up and leave the city for the suburbs, not giving any thought to the people you leave behind. Who you are, the real man in those who can benefit, learn, but no you turn and follow the man who treats you like a pet. As long as he has more things than you, he'll parade you around like a puppet on the string. There's a black man who made it, you'll save him. He'll tell you how you can get out the ghetto if you're excused until he gets tired or he gets fired or something's missing. He'll get the media fishing so they find a way to bring you down. Then you want to come back around the way, but you get no play in the hood. Now you're scared because no one cares if you live or die because you sold out for a piece of the pie. Wake up, black businessman, black man in general. My black women, wake up.
Give me go back and hear that again. Let me hear that again. Can we hear that again? I'm sorry, y'all. All right, the driver. Say he'll be in and out. He's at work.
Wake up. Rodero, the one man
Sorry, y'all. I was getting down. They just want to say I was getting down. I was getting down. Make fun of it all you want. I was getting down. Come on and hold me tight, but all you wanna do is fuss, cuss, argue, and fight. See, y'all ain't right. All I wanna do is hold you tight, but all you wanna do is fuss, cuss, argue, and fight. I can't help you out with that, but check this out. Take it easy and take it slow. Welcome to the BD Show. Take it easy and take it slow. Oh, welcome to the Brother Derrick Show. You other YouTubers, y'all straight greasy. Your whack beef videos sound cheesy. Please, somebody release me. Take it easy and take it slow. Welcome to the BD Show. Take it easy and take it slow. Oh, welcome to the Brother Derrick Show. Put that la hit moving into it. I ain't stressing. I'm here to teach a lesson. I ain't stressing. I'm here to teach a lesson. Keeping you other YouTubers out there guessing. So take it easy and take it slow. Welcome to the BD Show. Take it easy and take it slow. Oh, welcome to the Brother Derrick. You other YouTubers, y'all straight greasy. Your whack beef videos sound cheesy. Please, somebody call Yeezy. Take it easy and take it slow. Welcome to the BD Show. Take it easy and take it slow. Oh, welcome to the Brother Derrick Show. Hold me tight. Hey, don't turn off the light. Hold me tight. Hey, don't turn off the light. Take it easy and take it slow. Welcome to the BD Show. Take it easy and take it slow. Oh, welcome to the Brother Derrick Show. Bring that beef back. You all YouTubers, y'all straight greasy. Your whack beef videos sound cheesy. Please, somebody release me. Take it easy and take it slow. Welcome to the BD Show. Take it easy and take it slow. And welcome to the Brother Derrick Show. Hold me tight. Hey, don't turn off the light. Hold me tight. Hey, don't turn off the light. One more time now. Hold me tight. Hey, don't turn off the light. Don't turn off the lights, but take it easy and take it slow. Welcome to the BD Show. Take it easy and take it slow, and welcome to the Brother Derrick Show. Welcome to that sinister minister, Brother Derrick Show. Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to the show. I love doing that theme song. I know y'all probably sick of it by now, but I love doing it. Alrighty, y'all, let's get to it. We got a serious show here today. I hope y'all ready to chat. Hope y'all ready to debate. We got a lot of stuff to look at here. We got several different topics. First topic is as far as the state of our people go in 2020, whose fault is it? We're going to listen. If she turn out the lights, go ask Patti LaBelle. Go ask Patti LaBelle what happened when she turned the lights out. It's a parody of her song. So go ask Patti LaBelle what happened when she turned out the lights. Wait a minute, let me type it in. Y'all know that that's a parody of Patti LaBelle's Little Girls. I played it for y'all before, but y'all can Google it and listen to it yourself. Patti LaBelle, Little Girls. That's a parody of that song. Not a copy of it, but it's a parody. The melody you hear is actually her words. And at the end of it, when you hear it, when I stop it, when you hear it playing out, that's actually her words. I put her words to the keys. So if y'all listen to the song, you'll realize that I took her words and put it to music. I didn't copy the music. My song don't sound nothing like that song. That's why I told y'all YouTube wanted to flag us for it and couldn't. Because it's an original track, number one. And they don't sound nothing like. So even though the Hold Me Tight is from her, there ain't nothing about that theme song that resembles the song. So they were handcuffed. They couldn't do anything. All right, so let's get to our first article. We got a lot of them, so let's get to them. I hate when they do this. Our democracy's founding ideals were false when they were written. Black Americans have fought to make them true. By Nicole Hannah Jones. So y'all know it's a woman, so let's get it. She says, my dad always flew an American flag in our front yard. The blue paint on our two-story house was perennially chipping. The fence or the rail by the stairs or the front door existed in a perpetual state of disrepair. But that flag always flew pristine. Our corner lot, which had been redlined by the federal government, was along the river that divided the black side from the white side of our Iowa town. At the edge of our lawn, high on an aluminum pole, soared the flag, which my dad would replace as soon as it showed the slightest tatter. My dad was born into a family of sharecroppers on a white plantation in Greenwood, Mississippi, where black people bent over cotton from can't see in the morning to can't see at night, just as their enslaved ancestors had done so not long before. The Mississippi of my dad's youth was an apartheid state that subjugated its near-majority black population through breathtaking acts of violence. White residents in Mississippi lynched more black people than any other state in the country. And the white people in my dad's home country lynched more black residents than those in any other county in Mississippi, often for such crimes as entering a room occupied by white women, bumping into a white girl, or trying to start a sharecroppers union. My dad's mother, like all the black people in Greenwood, could not vote, use the public library, or find work other than toiling in the cotton fields or toiling in white people's houses. So in the 1940s, she packed up her few belongings and her 3 small children and joined the flood of black Southerners fleeing north. She got off the Illinois Central Railroad in Waterloo, Iowa, only to have her hopes of mythical promised land shattered when she learned that Jim Crow did not end at the Mason-Dixon line. Grandmama, as we called her, found a house in a segregated black neighborhood on the city's east side, and then found work that was considered black women's work no matter where black women lived, cleaning white people's houses. Dad too struggled to find promise in this land. In 1962, at age 17, he signed up for the army. Like many young men, he joined in hopes of escaping poverty, but he went into the military for another reason as well, a reason common to black men. Dad hoped that if he served his country might finally treat him as an American. The army did not end up being his way out. He was passed over for opportunities his ambition stunted. He would be discharged under murky circumstances and then labor in a series of service jobs for the rest of his life. Like all the black men and women in my family, he believed in hard work, but like all the black men and women in my family, no matter how hard he worked, he never got ahead. So when I was young, that flag outside our home never made sense to me. How could this black man, having seen firsthand the way his country abused black Americans, how it refused to treat us as full citizens, proudly fly its banner? I didn't understand his patriotism. It deeply embarrassed me. I've been taught in school through cultural osmosis that the flag wasn't really ours, that our history as a people began with enslavement, and that we had contributed little to this great nation. It seemed that the closest thing black Americans could have to cultural pride was to be found in our vague connection to Africa, a place we had never seen. That my dad felt so much honor in being an American felt like a marker on his generation, his acceptance of our subordination. Like most young people, I thought I understood so much, when in fact I understood so little. My father knew exactly what he was doing when he raised that flag. He knew that our people's contribution to building the richest and most powerful nation in the world was indelible, that the United States simply would not exist without us. In August 1619, just 12 years after the English settled Jamestown, Virginia, 1 year before the Puritans landed at Plymouth Rock, and some 157 years before the English colonists even decided they wanted to form their own country. The Jamestown colonists brought 20 to 30 enslaved Africans from English pirates. The pirates had stolen them from a Portuguese slave ship that had forcibly taken them from what is now the country of Angola. Those men and women who came ashore on that August day were the beginning of American slavery. They were among the 12.5 million Africans who will be kidnapped from their homes and brought in chains across the Atlantic Ocean, and the largest forced migration in human history until the Second World War. Almost 2 million did not survive the grueling journey known as the Middle Passage. Before the abolishment of the international slave trade, 400,000 enslaved Americans would be sold into America. These individuals and their descendants transformed the lands to which they had been brought into some of the most successful colonies in the British Empire. Through backbreaking labor, they cleared the land across the southeast. They taught the colonists to grow rice. They grew and picked cotton. At the height of slavery, was the nation's most valuable commodity, accounting for half of all American exports and 66% of the world's supply. They built the plantations of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison, sprawling properties that today attract thousands of visitors from across the globe, captivated by the history of the world's greatest democracy. They laid the foundations of the White House and the Capitol, even placing with their unfree hands the Statue of Freedom atop the Capitol dome. They lugged the heavy wooden tracks of the railroads that crisscrossed the South, and they helped take the cotton that they picked to the northern textile mills, fueling the Industrial Revolution. They built vast fortunes for white people north and south. At one time, the second richest man in the nation was a Rhode Island slave trader. Profits from black people's stolen labor helped the young nation pay off its war debts and finance some of our most prestigious universities. It was the relentless buying, selling, insuring, and financing of their bodies and the products of their labor that made Wall Street a thriving banking, insurance, and trading sector, and New York City the financial capital of the world. But it would be historically inaccurate to reduce the contributions of black people to the vast material wealth created by our bondage. Black Americans have also been and continue to be foundational to the ideal of American freedom. More than any other group in this country's history, we have served generation after generation in an overlooked but vital role. It is important that we have been the perfecters of this democracy. It is we who have been the perfecters of this democracy. The United States is a nation founded on both an ideal and a lie. Our Declaration of Independence, approved on July 4, 1776, proclaims that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. But the white men who drafted those words did not believe them to be true for the hundreds of thousands of black people in their midst. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness did not apply to fully 1/5 of the country. Yet, despite being violently denied the freedom and justice promised to all, black Americans believe fervently in the American creed. Through centuries of black resistance and protest, we have helped the country live up to its founding ideals, and not only for ourselves. Black rights struggles paved the way for every other rights struggle, including women's and gay rights, immigrants, and disability rights. Without the idealistic, strenuous, and patriotic efforts of black Americans, our democracy today would most likely look very different. It might not be a democracy at all. The very first person to die for this country in the American Revolution was a black man who himself was not free. Crispus Attucks was a fugitive from slavery, yet he gave his life for a new nation in which his people would not enjoy the liberties laid out in the Declaration for another century. In every war this nation has waged since that first one, black Americans have fought. Today we are most likely of all racial groups to serve in the United States military. My father, one of those black Americans who understand the call, knew it would take me years to understand that the year 1619 is as important to the American story as 1776. That black Americans, as much as those men cast in alabaster in the nation's capital, are this nation's true founding fathers, and that no people has a greater claim to that flag than us. In June 1776, Thomas Jefferson sat at his portable writing desk in a rented room in Philadelphia and penned these words: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creators with certain unalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." For the last 243 years, this fierce assertion of the fundamental and natural rights of humankind to freedom and self-governance has defined our global reputation as a land of liberty. As Jefferson composed his inspiring words, however, a teenage boy who would enjoy none of those rights and liberties waited nearby to serve at his master's beck and call. His name was Robert Hennings, and he was the half-brother of Jefferson's wife, born to Martha Jefferson's father and a woman he owned. It was common for white enslavers to keep their half-black children in slavery. Jefferson had chosen Henning from about 130 enslaved people that worked on a forced labor camp he called Monticello to accompany him to Philadelphia and to ensure his every comfort as he drafted the text making the case for a new democratic republic based on the individual rights of men. At the time, 1/5 of the population within the 13 colonies struggled under a brutal system of slavery, unlike anything that had existed in the world before. Chattel slavery was not conditional, but racial. It was heritable and permanent, not temporary, meaning generations of black people were born into it and passed their enslaved status on to their children. Enslaved people will not be recognized as human beings, but as property that could be mortgaged, traded, bought, sold, used as collateral, given as a gift, and disposed of violently. Jefferson's fellow white colonists knew that black people were human beings, but they created a network of laws and customs astounding for both their precision and cruelty that ensured that enslaved people would never be treated as such. As the abolitionist William Goodell wrote in 1853, if anything founded on falsehood might be called a science, we might add the system of American slavery to the list of the strict sciences. Strict sciences. Enslaved people could not legally marry. They were barred from learning to read and restricted from meeting privately in groups. They had no claim to their own children, who could be bought, sold, and traded away from them on auction blocks alongside furniture and cattle, or behind storefronts that advertised Negroes for sale. Enslavers, in the course, did not honor kinship ties to mothers, siblings, cousins, and most courts they had no legal standing. Enslavers could rape or murder their property without legal consequence. Enslaved people could own nothing, will nothing, and inherit nothing. They were legally tortured, including by those working for Jefferson himself. They could be worked to death, and often were, in order to produce the highest profits for the white people who owned them. Yet, in making the argument against Britain's tyranny, one of the colonists' favorite rhetorical devices was the claim that they were the slaves to Britain. For this duplicity, they faced burning criticism both at home and abroad, as Samuel Johnson, an English writer and Tory opposed to American independence, quipped, "How is it that we hear the loudest yelps from liberty among the drivers of Negroes?" Whoa! How is it that we hear the loudest yelps for liberty among the drivers of Negroes? Conveniently left out of our founding mythology is the fact that one of the primary reasons the colonists decided to declare their independence was Britain, because they wanted to protect the institution of slavery. By 1776, Britain had grown deeply conflicted over its role in the barbaric institution that had reshaped the Western Hemisphere. In London, there were growing calls to abolish the slave trade. This would have upended the economy of the colonies in both the North and the South. The wealth and prominence that allowed Jefferson, at just 33, and other founding fathers to believe they could successfully break off from one of the mightiest empires in the world came from the dizzying profits generated by chattel slavery. In other words, we may never have revolted against Britain if the founders had not understood that slavery empowered them to do so, nor if they believed that independence was required in order to ensure that slavery would continue. It's not incidental that 10 of this nation's first 12 presidents were enslavers, and some might argue that this nation was founded not as a democracy, but a slavocracy. Jefferson and the other founders were keenly aware of this hypocrisy. And so in Jefferson's original draft of the Declaration of Independence, he tried to argue that it wasn't the colonists' fault. Instead, he blamed the King of England for forcing the institution of slavery on the unwilling colonists and called the trafficking in humans being a crime. Yet neither Jefferson nor most of the founders intended to abolish slavery, and in the end, they struck the passage. There is no mention of slavery in the final Declaration of Independence. Similarly, 11 years later, when it came, as the historian David Wallstreicher has written, and 5 more hold implications for slavery. The Constitution protected the property of those who enslaved black people, prohibited the federal government from intervening to end the importation of enslaved Africans for a term of 20 years, allowed Congress to mobilize the militia to put down insurrections by the enslaved, and forced states that had outlawed slavery to turn over enslaved people who had ran away seeking refuge. Like many others, the writer and abolitionist Samuel Bryan called out the deceit, saying of the constitutions, the words are dark and ambiguous, and such as no plain man of common sense would have used, and are evidently chosen to conceal from Europe that in this enlightened country the practice of slavery has its advocates among men in the high stations. Hold on a sec, y'all. Let me hit the restart the radio. All right, y'all, my bad. We had a cutout. Let me check the chat real quick. Any comments so far? No. All right, keep going. With independence, the founding fathers could no longer blame slavery on Britain. The sin became this nation's own, and so too the need to cleanse. And Leader Beware, Robert J. Control, and Raymond T. Diamond, white Americans, whether they engaged in slavery or not, had a considerable psychological as well as economic invested in the doctrine of black inferiority. While liberty was the inalienable right of the people who would be considered white, enslavement and subjugation became the natural station of the people who had any discernibly drop of black blood. The Supreme Court enshrined this thinking in the law in its 1857 Dr. Dred Scott decision, ruling that black people, whether enslaved or free, came from a slave race. This made them inferior to white people and therefore incompatible with the American democracy. Democracy was for citizens, and the Negro race, the court ruled, was a separate class of persons which the founders had not regarded as a portion of the people or citizens of the government and had no rights which a white man was bound to respect. This belief that black people were not merely enslaved but were a slave race became the root of the endemic racism that we still cannot purge from this nation to this day. If black people could not ever be citizens, if they were cast apart from all other humans, then they did not require the rights bestowed by the Constitution, and the we the people was not a lie. On August 14, 1862, a mere 5 years after the nation's highest courts declared that no black person could be an American citizen, President Abraham Lincoln called a group of 5 esteemed free black men to the White House for a meeting. It was one of the few times that black people ever been invited to the White House as guests. The Civil War had been raging for more than a year, and black abolitionists who had been increasingly pressuring Lincoln to end slavery must have felt a sense of great anticipation and pride. The war was not going well for Lincoln. Britain was contemplating whether or not to intervene on the Confederacy's behalf, and Lincoln was unable to draw enough new white volunteers for the war, was forced to reconsider his opposition to allowing black Americans to fight for their own liberation. The president was wearing a proclamation that threatened to emancipate all enslaved people in the states that had seceded from the Union, if the states did not end the rebellion. The proclamation would also allow the formerly enslaved to join the Union Army and fight against their former masters. But Lincoln worried about what the consequences of this radical step would be. Like many white Americans, he opposed slavery as a cruel system at odds with American ideals, but he also opposed black equality. He believed that free black people were a troublesome presence, incompatible with a democracy intended for only white people. Free them and make them politically and socially our equals, he said 4 years earlier. My own feelings will not admit of this, and if mine would, we well know that those of the great mass of white people will not. That August day, as the men arrived at the White House, they were greeted by the towering Lincoln and a man named James Mitchell, who had 8 days before had been given the title of a newly created position called Commissioner of Immigration. This was to be his first assignment. After exchanging a few niceties Lincoln got right to it. He informed his guests that he had gotten Congress to appropriate funds to help ship black people once freed to another country. Why should they leave this country? This is perhaps the first question for proper consideration. Lincoln told them, "You and we are different races. Your race suffer very, very greatly, many of them by living among us, while ours suffer from your presence. In a word, we suffer on each side." You can imagine the heavy silence of the room as the weight of what the president said momentarily stole the breath of these 5 black men. It was 243 years to the month since the first of their ancestors had arrived on these shores. Before Lincoln's family, long before most of the white people insisting this war was not their country. Long before white people insisted this was not their country. The Union had not entered the war to end slavery, but to keep the South from splitting off. Yet black men had signed up to fight. Enslaved people were fleeing their forced labor camps, which we like to call plantations, trying to join the effort, serving as spies, sabotaging Confederates, taking up arms for his cause as well as their own. And now Lincoln was blaming them for the war. Although many men engaged on either side do not care for you one way or the other, without the institution of slavery and the colored race as a basis, the war would not have an existence, the president told them. It is better for us both, therefore, to be separated. As Lincoln closed the remarks, Edward Thomas, the delegation's chairman, informed the president, perhaps curtly, that they would consult on his proposition. "Take your full time," Lincoln said, "no hurry at all." Nearly 3 years after that White House meeting, General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox. By summer, the Civil War was over and 4 million blacks were suddenly free. Contrary to Lincoln's view, most were not inclined to leave, agreeing with the sentiment of a resolution against black colonization put forward at a convention of black leaders in New York some decades before. "This is our home and this is our country. Beneath its sod lie the bones of our fathers. Here we were born and here we will die." That the formerly enslaved did not take up Lincoln's offer to abandon these lands is an astounding testament to their belief in this nation's founding ideals. As W.E.B. Du Bois wrote, "Few men ever worshiped freedom with half such unquestioning faith as did the American Negroes for 2 centuries. Black Americans had long called for universal equality and believed, as the abolitionist Martin Delany said, that God has made of the blood all the nations that dwell on the face of the earth. Liberated by war, then they did not seek vengeance on their oppressors, as Lincoln and so many others white Americans feared. They did the opposite. During this nation's brief period of Reconstruction from 1865 to 1877, formerly enslaved people zealously engaged with the democratic process. With federal troops tempering widespread white violence, black Southerners started branches of the Equal Rights League, one of the nation's first human rights organizations, to fight discrimination and organize voters. They headed in droves to the polls, where they placed other formerly enslaved people into seats that their enslavers once held. The South, for the first time in the history of this country, began to resemble a democracy, with black Americans elected to local, state, and federal offices. Some 16 black men served in Congress, including Hiram Revels of Mississippi, who became the first black man elected to the Senate, demonstrating just how brief this period would be. Revels, along with Blanche Bruce, will go from being the first black man elected to the last for nearly 100 years, until Edward Brooke of Massachusetts took office in 1967. More than 600 black men served in southern states legislators and 100 more in local positions. These black officials joined with white Republicans, some of who came down from the north to write the most egalitarian state constitution the South had ever seen. They helped pass more equitable tax legislation and laws that prohibited discrimination in public transportation, accommodation, and housing. Perhaps their biggest achievement was the establishment of the Democratic of America institutions, the public school. Public education effectively did not exist in the South before Reconstruction. The white elite sent their children to private schools, while poor white children went without an education. But newly freed black people who had been prohibited from learning to read and write during slavery were desperate for an education. So black legislators successfully pushed for a universal state-funded system of schools, not just for their own children, but for white children too. Black legislators also helped pass the first compulsory education laws in the region. Southern children, black and white, were now required to attend schools like their northern counterparts. Just 5 years into Reconstruction, every southern state had enshrined the right to a public education for all children into its constitution. In some states like Louisiana and South Carolina, small numbers of black and white children briefly attended schools together. Led by black activists in the Republican Party, pushed left by the blatant recalcitrance of white Southerners, the years directly after slavery saw the greatest expansion of human and civil rights this nation would ever see. In 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment, making the United States one of the last nations in the Americas to outlaw slavery. The following year, black Americans exerting their new political power pushed white legislators to pass the Civil Rights Act, the nation's first law and one of the most expansive pieces of civil rights legislation Congress has ever passed. It codified black American citizenship for the first time, prohibited housing discrimination, and gave all Americans the right to buy and inherit property, make and enforce contracts, and seek redress from courts. In 1868, Congress ratified the 14th Amendment, ensuring citizenship to any person born in the United States. Today, thanks to this amendment, every child born here to a European, Asian, African, Latin, America, or Middle Eastern immigrant gains automatic citizenship. The 14th Amendment also, for the first time, constitutionally guaranteed equal protection under the law. Ever since, nearly all other marginalized groups have used the 14th Amendment in their fights for equality, including the recent successful arguments before the Supreme Court on half of same-sex marriage. Finally, in 1870, Congress passed the 15th Amendment, guaranteeing the most critical aspect of democracy and citizenship, the right to vote to all men, regardless of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. For this fleeting moment known as Reconstruction, the majority in Congress seemed to embrace the idea that out of the ashes of the Civil War, we could create the multiracial democracy that black Americans envisioned, even if our founding fathers did not. But it wouldn't last. Anti-black racism runs in every DNA of this country, as does the belief, so well articulated by Lincoln, that black people are the obstacle to national unity. The many gains of Reconstruction were met with fierce white resistance throughout the South, including unthinkable violence against the formerly enslaved, wide-scale voter suppression, electoral fraud, and even some extreme cases, the overthrow of a democratically elected biracial governments. Faced with the unrest, the federal government decided that black people were the cause of the problem, and that for unity's sake, it would leave the white South to its own devices. In 1877, President Rutherford B. Hayes, in order to secure a compromise with Southern Democrats that would grant him the presidency in a contested election, agreed to pull federal troops from the South. With the troops gone, white Southerners quickly went about eradicating the gains of Reconstruction. The systematic white suppression of black life was so severe that this period between the 1880s and 1920s and 30s became as the Great Nadir, or the Second Slavery. democracy would not turn to the South for nearly a century. White Southerners of all economic classes, on the other hand, thanks in significant part to the progressive policies and laws black people had championed, experienced substantial improvement in their lives, even as they forced black people back into quasi-slavery. As Waters McIntosh, who had been enslaved in South Carolina, lamented, it was the poor white man who was freed by the war, not the Negroes. Georgia pines flew past the windows of the Greyhound bus carrying Isaac Woodard home to Winnsboro, South Carolina, after serving 4 years in the Army in World War II, where Woodard had earned a battle star. He was given the honorable discharge earlier that day at Camp Gordon and was heading home to meet his wife. When the bus stopped at a small drugstore an hour outside Atlanta, Woodard got into a brief argument with the white driver after asking if he can use the restroom. About half an hour later, the driver stopped again and told Woodard to get off the bus. Crisp in his uniform, Woodard stepped from the stairs and saw the police waiting for him. Before he could speak, one of the officers struck him in his head with a billy club, beating him so bad that he fell unconscious. The blows to Woodard's head were so severe that when he woke in the jail cell the next day, he could not see. The beating occurred just 4.5 hours after his military discharge. At 26, Woodard will never see again. There was nothing unusual about Woodard's horrific maiming. It was part of a wave of systemic violence deployed against black Americans after Reconstruction in both the North and the South. As the egalitarian spirit of post-Civil War America evaporated under the desire for national reunification, black Americans, simply by existing, serve as a problematic reminder of this nation's failings. White America dealt with this inconvenience by constructing a savagely enforced system of racial apartheid that excluded black people almost entirely from the mainstream American life, a system so grotesque that Nazi Germany would later take inspiration from it for its own racist policies. Despite the guarantees of equality in the 14th Amendment, the Supreme Court's landmark Plessy versus Ferguson decision in 1896 declared that racial segregation of black Americans was constitutional, with the blessing of the nation's highest court and no federal will to vindicate black rights. Starting in the late 1800s, Southern states passed a series of laws and codes meant to make slavery's racial caste system permanent by denying black people political power, social equality, and basic dignity. They passed literacy tests to keep black people from voting and created all-white primaries for elections. Black people were prohibited from serving on juries or testifying in court against a white person. South Carolina prohibited white and black textile workers from using the same doors. Oklahoma forced phone companies to segregate phone booths. Memphis had separate parking spaces for black and white drivers. Baltimore passed an ordinance outlining black people from moving on to a block more than half white, and white people from moving on to a block more than half black. Georgia made it illegal for black and white people to be buried next to one another in the same cemetery. Alabama barred black people from using public libraries that their own tax dollars were paying for. Black people were expected to jump off the sidewalk to let white people pass, and called all white people by an horrific, though they received none, no matter how old they were. What? They were expected to jump off the sidewalk to let white people pass, and call all white people by an honorific. Oh, okay. They had to call them sir or ma'am, though they received none, no matter how old they were. In the North, white politicians implemented policies that segregated black people in the slum neighborhoods and into inferior all-black schools, operated whites-only public pools, and held white and colored days at the country fair, and white businesses regularly denied black people service, placing white-only signs in their windows. States like California joined southern states and barred black people from marrying white people, while local school boards in Illinois and New Jersey mandated segregated schools for black and white children. This caste system was maintained through wanton racist terrorism, and black veterans like Woodard, especially those with the audacity to wear that uniform, had since the Civil War been the target of a particular violence. This intensified during the two world wars because white people understood that once black men had gone abroad and experienced life outside the suffocating racist oppression of America, they were unlikely to quietly return to that subjugation at home. As Senator James K. Vardaman of Mississippi said on the Senate floor during World War I, black servicemen returning to the South would inevitably lead to disaster. Giving a black man military airs and sending him to defend the flag will bring him to the conclusion that his political rights must be respected. Many white Americans saw black men in uniforms of America's armed services not as patriotic, but as exhibiting a dangerous pride. Hundreds of black veterans were beaten, maimed, shot, and lynched. We like to call those who lived during the World War II the greatest generation, but that allows us to ignore the fact that many of this generation fought for democracy abroad while brutally suppressing democracy for millions of American citizens. During the height of racial terror in this country, black Americans were not merely killed but castrated, burned alive, and dismembered with their body parts displayed in storefronts. This violence was meant to terrify and control black people, but perhaps just important, it served as a psychological bomb for white supremacy. You would not treat human beings this way. The extremity of the violence was a system of the psychological mechanism necessary to absolve white Americans of their country's original sin. To answer the question of how they could prize liberty abroad while simultaneously denying the liberty to an entire black race at home, white Americans resorted to the same racist ideology that Jefferson and the framers had used at the nation's founding. This ideology that black people belonged to an inferior subhuman race did not disappear once slavery ended. If the former enslaved and their descendants became educated, if we thrived in the jobs white people did, if we excelled in the science and the arts, then the entire justification for how this nation allowed slavery would collapse. Free black men pose a danger to the country's idea of itself as exceptional. We held up the mirror in which the nation preferred not to peer or not to look. And so the inhumanity visited on black people by every generation of white America justified the inhumanity of the past. Just as white Americans feared, World War II ignited what became black Americans' second sustained effort to make democracy real. As the editorial board of the black newspaper, the Pittsburgh Courier, wrote, "We wage a two-pronged attack against our enslavers at home and those abroad who will enslave us." Woodard's blinding is largely seen as one of the catalysts for the decades-long rebellion we come to call the Civil Rights Movement. But it's useful to pause and remember that this was the second-class movement for black civil rights, the first being Reconstruction. As the centennial of slavery ended there, black people were still seeking the rights they had fought for and won after the Civil War. The right to be treated equally by public institutions, which was guaranteed in 1886 with the Civil Rights Act. The right to be treated as full citizens before the law, which was guaranteed in 1868 by the 14th Amendment, and the right to vote, which was guaranteed in 1870 by the 15th Amendment. In response to black demands for these rights, white Americans strung them from trees, beat them up, and dumped their bodies in muddy rivers, assassinated them in front yards, firebombed them on buses, mauled them with dogs, peeled back their skin with fire hoses, and murdered their children with explosives set off inside a church. For the most part, black Americans fought back alone. Yet we never fought for ourselves. The bloody freedom struggles of the civil rights movement laid the foundation for every other modern rights struggle. This nation white founders set up a decidedly undemocratic constitution that excluded women, Native Americans, and black people, and did not provide the vote or equality for most Americans. But the laws born out of black resistance guaranteed the franchise for all, and banned discrimination based not just on race, but on gender, nationality, religion, and ability. It was the civil rights movement that led to the passage of the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which upended the racist immigration quota system intended to keep this country white. Because of black Americans, black and brown immigrants from far across the globe are able to come to the United States and live in a country in which legal discrimination is no longer allowed. It is a truly American irony that some Asian Americans among the groups able to migrate to the United States because of the black civil rights struggle are now suing universities to end programs designed to help the descendants of the enslaved. No one cherishes freedom more than those who have not had it, and to this day, black Americans more than any other group embrace the democratic ideals of a common good. We are most likely to support programs like universal health care and a high minimum wage, and to oppose programs that harm the most vulnerable. For instance, black Americans suffer the most from violent crime, yet we are the most opposed to capital punishment. Our unemployment rate is nearly twice that of white Americans, and yet we are still most likely of all groups to say this nation should take in refugees. The truth is that as much as democracy as this nation has today, it has been born on the backs of blacks' resistance. Our founding fathers may not have actually believed in the ideas they espoused, but black people did. As one scholar, Joe R. Fegan, put it, enslaved African Americans have been among the foremost freedom fighters this country has produced for generations. We have believed in this country with a faith it did not deserve. Black people have seen the worst of America, yet somehow we still believe it's the best. They say our people were born on the water. When it occurred, no one can say for certain. Perhaps it was in the second week or the third, but surely by the fourth, when they had not seen their land or any land for so many days, they lost count. It was after fear had turned to despair, and despair to resignation, and resignation to an abiding understanding. The total eternity of the Atlantic Ocean had severed them so completely from what had once been their home, as if there was nothing had existed before, as if everything and everyone cherished had simply vanished from the earth. They were no longer Mabundu, Akan, or Fulani. These men and women from many different nations, all shackled together in the suffocating hull of a ship. They were one people now. Just a few months earlier, they had families and farms and lives and dreams. They were free. They had names, of course, but their enslavers did not bother to record them. They had been made black by those people who believed that they were white, and where they were heading, black equals slave, and slavery in America required turning human beings into property by stripping them of every element that made them individuals. This process was called seasoning, in which people stolen from Western and Central Africa was forced, often to torture, to stop speaking their native tongues and practice their native religions. But the sociologist Glenn Bracey wrote, "Out of the ashes of white denigration, we gave birth to ourselves. For as much as white people tried to pretend, black people were not chattel. And so the process of seasoning instead of erasing the identity, served an opposite purpose. In the void, we forged a new culture all our own. Today, our very manner of speaking recalls the Creole languages that enslaved people innovated in order to communicate both with African-speaking various dialects and the English-speaking people who enslaved them. Our style of dress, the extra flair, stems back to the desires of enslaved people, showing of our individuality to exert their own identity. Enslaved people will wear their hair in a jaunty manner, or knot their head scarves intricately. Today's avant-garde nature of black hairstyle and fashion displays a vibrant reflection of enslaved people's determination to feel fully human through self-expression. The improvisation quality of black art and music comes from a culture that, because of constant disruption, could not cling to convention. Black naming practices, so often encouraged by mainstream society, are themselves. Oops. You went too far, sir. I'm sorry. I lost my place. Here we go. Black naming practices, so often impugned by mainstream society, they are ourselves an act of resistance. Our last names belong to the white people who once owned them. This is why the insistence of many black Americans, particularly those most marginalized, to give our children the names that we create, that are neither European nor from Africa, a place we have never seen, is an act of self-determination. When the words listens to quintessential American music, it is our voice they hear. The soft songs we sang in the fields to soothe our physical pain and find hope in the freedom we did not expect to know until we died, became American gospel. Amid the devastating violence and poverty of the Mississippi Delta, we birthed jazz and blues, and it was in the deeply impoverished and segregated neighborhoods where white Americans forced the descendants of the enslaved to live that teenagers too poor to buy instruments used records to create a new music known as hip-hop. Our speech and fashion and the drum of our music echoes Africa, but is not African. One of our unique isolation, both from our native cultures and from white America, we forged this nation's most significant original culture. In turn, mainstream society has coveted our style, our slang, and our song, seeking to appropriate the one truly American culture as its own. As Langston Hughes wrote in 1926, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. For centuries, white Americans have been trying to solve the Negro problem. They have dedicated thousands of pages to this endeavor. It is common still to point to rates of black poverty, out-of-wedlock births, crime, and college attendance, as if these conditions in a country built on a racial caste system are not utterly predictable. But crucially, we cannot view those statistics while ignoring another, that black people were enslaved here longer than we have been here free. At 43, I am part of the first generation of black Americans in the history of the United States to be born into a society in which black people have full rights of citizenship. Black people suffer under slavery for 250 years. We have been legally free for just 50, yet in the briefest of spans, despite continuing to face rampant discrimination, and despite there never been a genuine effort to redress the wrongs of slavery and the century of racial apartheid that followed, black Americans have made astounding progress, not only for ourselves, but also for all Americans. What if America understood family in its 400th year? That we have not been the problem, but the solution. When I was a child, I must have been in the 5th or 6th grade, a teacher gave our class an assignment intended to celebrate the diversity of the great American melting pot. She instructed each of us to write a short report on our ancestral land and then draw that nation's flag. As she turned to write the assignment on the board, the other black girl in class locked eyes with me. Slavery had erased any connection we had to an African country, and even if we tried to claim the whole continent, there was no African flag. It was hard enough being one of 2 black kids in a class, and this assignment would just be another reminder of the distance between white kids and us. In the end, I walked over to the globe near my teacher's desk, picked a random African country, and claimed it as my own. I wish now I can go back to the younger me and tell her that her people's ancestry started here on these lands, and to boldly, proudly draw the stars and stripes of the American flag. We were told once by virtue of our bondage that we could never be American, but it was by virtue of our bondage that we became the most American of all. God darn, that was a long article. Woo! I ain't know it was that long. I'm sorry, y'all. I'll try to hurry up and get through it. Oh, man. Anybody got any comments? Yeah. That was a long one, boy. God darn. That was a long one. Man. Woo. Oh, man. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't know that was that long. But it was interesting. Y'all could have read along with me. It's on the screen. It's on the screen in 2K. Y'all can read along. Man. Woo. Oh, yeah. Man. I'm tired. Yeah, I ain't gonna drive right. That thing was long. I ain't know it was that long. Oh, man. That thing was long. Man. But it was full of good information. It was full of good information. Like, I didn't know that Abraham Lincoln proposed that after the Civil War, that he wanted all black people to lead the country. I didn't know that. And it never occurred to me when you think of the Constitution, the hypocrisy in it. All men are created equal, but black people will counted as 1/5 of a person. How that make sense? Doesn't that sound hypocritical? All men are created equal. All men are created equal. But black people are only 1/5 of a human being. Why did Abraham Lincoln and his like wanted to get black people out the country? Because the way they treated the black people made them look like hypocrites to the world. That's why they wanted them to lead the country. They were ashamed of their own behavior. And even though he was ashamed, he had no way to stop it. And I didn't know about the Black Renaissance. I heard of it. But that we actually have made great gains. And for anybody who votes Democrat, if you listen to that article and read it with me, you will never vote Democrat again. It was a Democrat future candidate that made a deal if he get elected that he would repeal all the advancements that black people had made during the Renaissance movement and would take the federal troops, you know, every state got a militia, would take the federal troops out of the South so that black people had no assistance. Because even if you couldn't get no help from the local sheriff, you know, hey Jimmy Jim Bob, yeah, y'all still over there beating them Negroes? Well, just don't kill them, all right? When they had federal soldiers there, you could go to the soldiers and say, look, stop these people. It was the Democrats that were the cause of so much pain. But yet, black people today vote Democrat. Somebody talk to me. Somebody talk to me. It was Democrats that brought the Confederate flag back out and used it for political gain to get the white people afraid and riled up. But yet, we vote Democrat. You can go on almost any black Instagram, black Twitter, go to most black YouTube channels. They all got something negative to say about Republicans. Somebody tell me I'm lying. A lot of people hate Tommy Sotomayor because he was wearing that Trump hat. The driver says, I said it for years, every president that helped blacks was Republican. Well, the Republicans need to do a better job of being in the press and putting that out there. I'm dead serious. But the fact that we were able to do so well after being freed, the fact that we was able to have a Black Wall Street, the fact that we was able to have a Rosewood, the democratically led races destroyed it all with violence. And then after we were free, all of a sudden the Democrats wanted to get involved in the civil rights after we were winning. We should have told them, get out our face. But here's the key. We haven't even got to I'm tired. That one thing was long. I got other articles to read. Damn, that was long. I hope they ain't long with that one. But the question is, whose fault is it for the state of black people today? Is it the government fault? Is it racist people's fault? Or is it the fault of the black people themselves? You want my opinion? It's black people's fault. Hey, driver, I ask you a question. Are you more worried about your son, or you more worried about Donald Trump's son? Just answer the question. Are you more worried about your son, or are you more worried about Donald Trump's son? Are you more worried about your son, or are you more worried about President Bush's son? Are you more worried about your son, or are you more worried about David Duke's son? Just answer the question. Naya, you more worried about your daughter, or are you more worried about President Trump's daughter? You more worried about your daughter, you more worried about David Duke's daughter. So, the driver, if you more worried about your son, then in the reverse, shouldn't Donald Trump be more worried about his son? Just answer the question. Wouldn't you think Donald Trump would be more concerned about his son? So if it comes to Donald Trump worrying about his son more than your son, why are you asking Donald Trump to take from his son and give to your son? Somebody talk to me. For all the people that's out there begging, gimme. Why do you expect Donald Trump to take from his son and give to your son? This is why we can't get ahead. Instead of us worrying about giving to our son, we're asking Trump to give to our son. We're asking the governor to give to our son and daughter. We're asking the mayor to give to our son and daughter. We're asking the members of the House to give to our son and daughter. They got their own sons and daughters to worry about. You got your own sons and daughters to worry about. Stop worrying about integrating and get your own. And take care of your own son. Why you keep asking other people to take food off their table and give it to you? Black Lives Matter. While you out there, hey, Black Lives Matter, don't shoot. You should be out there with a gun in your hand saying, you keep doing this, we gonna shoot you back. And get some respect. You keep asking people to take off their dinner table and put it on yours. You want that respect? Instead of begging them for a damn job, create your own business. You want the respect? Instead of begging them to create better schools, build your own. The way of life in America today, the way of life in America today is not to excel in creating your own. It's to excel for the benefit of somebody else. Somebody talk to me. You work for somebody else your whole life. And at the end, what does your son and daughter get off of it? Nothing. Because they have to come and beg somebody to hire them in a job that they could give to a relative, they give to you. A job that they could give to their dorky, retarded cousin, they give it to you to keep you quiet. Get your own. Why you keep asking to be integrated into a system where you can make your own? And then when you have your own, guess what? They're going to miss you working for them. They're going to miss you buying their products. And they're going to come and say, hey, how come you don't come around no more? Oh, we got our own. Now, back in the day, back in 1900, 1800, they can say, oh, you got your own, huh? Well, we're going to go burn it down. Well, they can't do that now. So what's your excuse for not doing it? They was able to do it back in 1900. Well, why you can't do it in 2020? Start making your own shit. And guess what? They got to come. They so used to you buying from them that now their dinner table ain't got the steak on there. It might have some chicken on there. Well, why we got chicken? Because, honey, you ain't brought no money home. Well, what do you mean? You was bringing home a lot of money now. You know, what happened to the money? Because we're not giving it to them. Right now, we're giving them money, and their kids are going to a great school. They're going to a great college, and they good. We, on the other hand, ain't. But if we started spending our money with each other, started creating our own businesses, $1.26 billion is the wealth. And we only 12% of the population. Take out the 1 billion. Just take it out of the economy and have a black economy. What will happen? The market will crash. The people in China will starve because we're not buying Chinese goods. People in Mexico will starve because they be trying to run across the border because we're not buying their goods. Canada will suffer because we're not buying their goods. If we start making our own cars, the Japanese will crumble. Because guess what? If we're not buying their cars. We made our own Mercedes. We made our own Maserati. The Europeans will fall. Because who's going to buy that car? We got power. But we don't use it. Because we too busy worrying about, I want to be the first person at this club. I want to be the first one at this golf club. I want to be the first. Why don't you be the first one to start one? Be the first one to own one. Why don't you do that? And then see what happens. Why do you need a bank? The driver? Why do you need a bank? We can start our own bank. If every black person in the country was to unite and put $5 into a bank, we 14% of the population. We each put $5 into a black bank. That bank will be the wealthiest bank in the country. See, the problem is not that the white man owns something. The problem is we can't unite and own something. That's where the new slavery is. I keep trying to tell y'all. The new slavery is we can't come together because we can't stand each other. And instead of keeping our money in our communities and letting us get some use of it, we kick it out to other people. But if we keep that money amongst ourselves, just think about it. You go work for somebody else. I keep telling you, as soon as you get paid, you pay your rent, you pay your utilities, you pay your car note, and ain't nobody in your neighborhood own a car dealership. You pay the insurance. Ain't nobody in your neighborhood running the insurance. And if it is, they just writing it. They ain't the policy holder, so the policy holder get all the money. All they get is a little bit of money for writing up the policy. The money not staying in the neighborhood. It's going somewhere else. When you start creating businesses, you said the credit store was built up to stop the black man. I say it again. If you are an electrician and you working for somebody else, and it's 10 of y'all, and y'all are working for somebody else, why can't you unite and say, look, let's start our own electrician business? We already know the customers because we go see them. The boss man don't go see him. We see him. So they know us. They don't know them. They know us. So why can't we take these customers? And then when we got enough of them, give them back. There you go. And create our own business. Why can't we do that? Why that's so hard to do? How does a bank stop you from doing that? If we put our money together. I laid a plan out in the video. I played it the other day of how we can do just that. Video is up. How we come together based on what you put into it is what you get back out. And everybody, no matter how small, is an owner in the company. So everybody has something to gain. And when your child graduates high school, they ain't got to worry about going to the man college. They can go right to work for the company that you own. They ain't got to worry about going to graduate school unless they want to be a doctor or a dentist. They ain't got to worry about going to do this, going to do that. They can go right to work. They ain't got to go beg nobody for a damn job. Why that's so hard to see? You making excuses. The white man on the bank. Why don't we start one? We got people that work in banks right now that know how they work. You can do it for somebody else. Why we can't put our money together and do it for ourselves? Why can't we stay together long enough to get something done? Yeah, well, she ain't got more than me. All that damn infighting. We cut that mess out and actually be business-like. Why can't we do it for ourselves? Why we got to keep asking other people to stop doing for their own to help us? Somebody talk to me. Why we got to keep asking? If I'm a white man and I'm struggling, why are you trying to make me feel guilty? I'm struggling like you is. The only difference is I'm trying to get a business started and you just begging. I'm trying to get something going. You just sitting there begging. Well, you enslaved my ancestors, so you owe me. There's a lot of poor white people in this country. They ain't trying to hear that. A whole lot of white people in this country, they eat mayonnaise sandwiches. Just like there's a whole lot of black people that eat mayonnaise sandwiches. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Kool-Aid, where you stretch it out and add more sugar and it look more like water. You know what I'm talking about. White people do that too. You ever been to Idaho? White people ain't rich, not all of them. All of them didn't own slaves. But you hold them all accountable. Fact of the matter is, if they struggling, why they care about you struggling? Why should they care? Because if they go get the food stamps, they get looked down upon. If they need help from the government, their own race looks down upon them. But why they give a darn about you? Just answer the question. I'm listening. Why they gonna feel sorry for you? Because you're gonna use the excuse, well, I need this because of what they did to my ancestors. What excuse they got? They got none. So they ain't gonna give you no excuse. So why are you asking them to take food off their plate and put it off their table and put it on your family table? Instead, take your dollars that you earn. Start your own business. Start taking some of their customers. Make them your own. After a while, they're going to have to come to you. Because their money going to be low. Well, what's going on here? And then we got to resist. I don't know if y'all remember a Good Times where they were talking about the Borgans supermarket and where they were giving out bad meat and they made the meat and made the manager eat it. Y'all remember that Good Times? Well, they were making a point. The Borgans supermarket was a white market, but they put black people inside it. But it was a white market. They put black people on it, and people came out and talked to you, and they were black. And y'all been to many places where y'all go, and somebody black come out there and talk to you. But y'all see it's a white man in the back, or it's an Arab man in the back. Tell the truth. And what they do is, they come in, and they make all their prices lower than the local businessmen. And they drive them out. They run them out of business. Soon as they all get out of business, they jack their prices up. Why? Because now you got nowhere to go. They drove everybody out of business. If we would resist that and start trying to get the cheapest thing, because I can tell you right now, if I had my way, China would starve. If Brother Derrick had it his way, China would starve. Well, how you say that, Brother Derrick? Because we would make our own stuff. We wouldn't buy crap from them. No matter how cheap they made it, we still wouldn't buy it. That's how. And then when we got our own and we stand on our own 2 feet, they're going to have to come see us because they missed the money. And they're going to invite us to step to the table. And now there's somebody coming to beg for something, they will invite us as an equal. Now, when we going to start doing that? Yes, Walmart does that. And how many of y'all run the Walmart? Knowing it. you know, the mechanic kept saying that I paid too much to get the tire fixed. Remember when I got that flat tire? The mechanic said I paid too much. That I should have took a cab to one of them foreign garages that's stuck in the back or somewhere, a hole in the wall. And I should have got them to work on the bike. I went to the local place. Even though it was a white place, it was still a local business. And I know it's not there for black people. It's there for the college kids. But still, it was local. And they got 5 shops that are local in the city. I supported them because there wasn't no place black to go. But at least they were local. You know. You said you was told that the God of this world hates black people. Well, I believe him. The God doesn't hate black people. He waiting on black people. He waiting on you. When you gonna stand up? And see, when I say stand up, most people start shaking. Oh, he talking about a race war. No, I'm not. We get slaughtered. We can't even decide on a damn name. How the hell we gonna fund a damn race war? But what we can do is start making our own businesses. Start creating our own wealth instead of giving our money to other people. You can say what you want to say, but I've proven to you that when you get paid, how long does the money stay in your community? Oh, the God of this world, why would he hate us? He loves us. We so willing to do his work. Why would he hate us? We are so willing to listen to him. We are so willing to do what he wants. I don't think he likes us, but he don't hate us. We fun. Y'all have to realize that we fund a lot of things and don't get no benefit from it. I say it again. When you get paid and you pay your bills, what do you do with the rest of your money? Do you go down to the bar? Is it a black bar? I'm asking you. When you go to the movie theater, is it a black movie theater? When you go roller skating, is it a black roller rink? When you go ice skating, is it a white ice rink? When you go to the mall, who owns the mall? And who owns most of the stores in the mall? Where does the money go? Because 9 times out of 10, you leave your neighborhood to go spend that money. And when you do spend it in your neighborhood, I know in the city, you give it to Koreans or Chinese people. So where does the money go? Driver says BD Walmart came to a town in South Carolina, drove every small business under the ground. Then they left. The town is dead now. And if I was one of them small businesses, I would come back. But they probably mad at you. They mad at y'all in that town. But I'd have came back. I'd have came back and rebuilt and been a little Walmart myself. And then I would have sat there and I would have had a cleaner. And I would have had a barbershop. I would have had a beauty salon. I would have had a bike store. I would have had an insurance place. I would have had a funeral parlor. I would have, if I had the money and the resources, I would literally rebuild everything you need so that you never have to leave town. keep that money right there. Soon as you get paid, spend that money in your town. Let it go around a little bit. Because as you buy something from this store, now this store has money. And you buy something from that store, and that store has money. And wherever you work at, they patronize you. Everybody is patronizing everybody, and everybody is benefiting from the money. But if you're going to take the money out to Walmart, there's no Walmart in Baltimore City. So if I go to Walmart, and you notice you never see me go, do you? Because I'm taking my money out. You know we on the big channel. We can't send no links. Cole, yeah, wait till we go over to the other channel. Y'all see every place I go, we are in the city. You don't see me leave. Even the doctors. They're all within the city limits. You don't see me go out to the county. Because the little bit of money that I have, why would I want to take it out the community? I know the market that I go to. Okay. All right, I'm a bookmark it, Cole. Copy link address, and I'm going to stick it right here. Paste. Cole says, it's more than one? Wait a minute, it's more than one. Which one would you say is the best one? Because I can put a song on and watch one really quick. Come on, man. I got to sign in. I got to sign in for. You kill me with this. Google will leave us alone. You ain't got to sign in, man. But yet you let somebody take my Facebook account. Sign in. You let somebody take our stuff. And no matter what I do, it's never the right one, right? Whatever I do is never the right password. But you change the password every minute. Look at that. That's the right password. I ain't trying to hear. See, they lying. That's the right password. I know it is. Oops. See? See how they cheat? Now you're going to show my phone number? That's going to expose me, right? You're just going to expose me, right? You're just going to expose me, right? Just show all my information. It don't matter. Just show it all, right? You just going to show all my information, right, chump? Show it all. It don't matter. Oh, you showing that too? Got the screen. It ain't showing nobody information, but damn, you just trying to show everything, ain't you? Trying to get these links. So that was the first one. Trying to show all my information. You don't even care, do you? Remember the damn devil. It ain't gonna stop me. You're wasting your time, sir. All it's doing is giving you people ammunition to get hurt. Because when they come at me with it, I'm gonna blast them and make them look stupid, which will make you look stupid. Yahweh. Oops. I understand why they do this, man. I understand why they're trying to get rid of Hangout, because it's stupid. Oops. Wake up. This is deception at its finest. Yahweh is Lucifer, Jehovah God, the false prophet. All right, it's one more I got to get. What am I missing? MCM and UAK. MCM and UAK. MCM and UAK. Where's UAK? There's UAK, MCM. I'm missing this one. Copy. Paste. Enter. Donna left Tyra. Even though I got some more stuff to go, if y'all wanna go over to Master King 1, y'all let me know. If y'all wanna go over to why are you showing that, man? Going out of your way to it came up by itself. If y'all want to go over to Master King 1, let me know. We can go over there and look at him. All right. Everybody, it's 10:17. At 10:30, meet me at Master King Brodero 1. Matter of fact, let me drop the link. Copy. That's the link. Meet me at this link at 10:30, y'all. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll continue this tomorrow, or tomorrow's Bible study, but we'll get back to it. Probably Thursday. All right, y'all. 10:30, Master King 1.